This is not the church of Joseph Smith. This is the Church of Jesus Christ. To remove the Lord's name from the Lord's church is a major victory for Satan.
Travis Wayne Goodsell. So today I saw on my stats that 5 people didn't like that Nelson botched the name of Joseph's church. Of course, if it's not Joseph's church, I guess he didn't botch the name. But it's a tell for Mormons, because Mormons don't care to actually know anything about Mormonism. They're Mormon, so it doesn't matter. They don't care to study, they don't care to research, they just are Mormon. And so anybody like me is an enemy threat. And so you don't realize that the name, as Nelson also pointed out to you, is kind of vital for the church. Because it's in the Book of Mormon. That's what he was referring to when he said this is not the church of Joseph Smith. He was referring to that Book of Mormon passage. Really? There's 9 for Moses' church? Sure enough. Hilarious. So 3rd Nephi 27. See, I have Mormon scriptures. I have the CD-ROM that I had installed on my computer. I used to have the beta version when I worked for the church, revising the footnotes, and then they're refusing to accept a lot of the changes that needed to be made, and then Nelson gets up at conference and botches those very things that I recommended to be changed, and they said no. And so now the manuals are now getting changed because Nelson said them at the pulpit of conference. That's what we were warned about. That we must use a footnote to another scripture. That we do not put our own opinion in there. Let God prevail is not in the scriptures. And anyone who knows Hebrew knows better. Because they warned us that this might happen, and they don't want any of us making a fool out of the prophet. But oops. So yes, I exploit it. Because they didn't follow their own rules, and now look what's happened. And this was back in the 2000s, so this was 20 years later, plus or minus, depending on which conference, depending on which thing he botched that I recommended be changed and they didn't. But we're focused on the name. Woosah! Bad boys rule. And so, growing up in the church, I'm well aware we're not Christian. I'm able to read and comprehend what I read. the Book of Mormon says learning of the Jews, language of the Egyptians. So as a Mormon boy, I want to know those languages. I want to know about the Jews. And it's a good thing I did, because the scriptures have opened up a whole bunch of knowledge for me. And you guys think I'm superior, and that I'm being proud and arrogant and condescending because you didn't study. But when it came to Jesus, I just thought, oh, okay, it's, the Greek word. And Jehovah is the word in Hebrew. Sort of. Not quite, but sort of. But then Amun comes into the picture. Okay. I guess that's the Egyptian. Adamon Amun, an Egyptian. Bruce R. McConkie gives an incorrect definition from his Mormon doctrine. But then I learned Hebrew. Then I learned Greek. Then I learned Egyptian. Oops. Now I know the truth. Then I'm able to put the Bible stories picture into focus. Oh, they all came from the Egyptian documents. Oh, they're prophecies of the latter days. They're books of Revelation. So the Gospels aren't really Gospels per se, because the Gospel means God tale. Tale of the gods. So yeah, it is, sort of, kinda. It's prophecy. They're humans behind those gods who are being used as symbols. But we get told in the temple that Heavenly Father's name is Elohim, and then his son is Jehovah. And Mormons turn it into, well, that's his pre-mortal life name in the spirit world. No. That's biblical Hebrew that was created in 800 to 1000 CE, where the Jews purposely messed up the Bible to fix one and only one translation, which was wrong. Joseph Smith said so in the King Follett Discourse. I wanted to know how he did that, because he only gave half a sentence translation. Everybody else says he's wrong. He's my prophet. He's not wrong. I'm going to find out. And I found out. And he's right. Why is science wrong on this one? Dear God, they weren't even using science. I found out for Paleo-Hebrew that William Foxwell Albright was told by Sir Alan Gardner to rig the decipherment into an acronym theory. Well, you just biased it with a fallacy argument. And so, yeah, his whole theory was easily shot to shreds by me. I did a whole research paper on it. Not a single letter was accurate. And all I did was compare the linear with the linear of Egyptian, and then confirmed with the vocabulary of Paleo-Greek. And for safe measure, I even compared with ancient Chinese strokes. That's the scientific methodology. And those in the field chose not to use science. And yet it's still the popular one, even though I'm known worldwide for my decipherment. And so the church is Amen. That's the name. That's our Christ. It comes from Emmanuel. In Paleo Hebrew, it is a transliteration from the Egyptian Amen, who is the sun god at noonday. So yes, go back into the first and second vision. Reread them. You'll notice that there's a sun at noonday involved with both of those. Then go to the Book of Mormon. Lehi has a dream. And who does he see? Who gives him a book. Just like Joseph in the second vision, which is the Book of Mormon. And so to call this church the Church of Jesus Christ exposes this church as the great and abominable church. Because verse 19 of the first vision makes it very clear and connects Christianity and Jesus of Christianity with the great and abominable church. And Mormons don't care. So if you hadn't caught on, I still support Joseph after searching for the truth. I didn't quit after somebody told me Joseph is wrong because Elohim is a plural majesty. Like Mormon apologists did. And so they created a fallacy argument to say, well, it's not really translation that Joseph Smith was doing, it's revelation. If we had the original document of ancient lore, it would confirm that. If we had the Book of Mormon plates, we'd find out that Joseph Smith translated it by the gift and power of God. Doesn't matter if it was a rocks in a hat or whatever. The translation would be accurate. Errors of the Bible and all, from 1769. See, these people who are telling Mormons the lies think you're stupid. And they get lots of views. So there's nothing else to conclude but they're stupid for believing in the lies. And then they attack people like us who criticize that, hey, wait a minute, no, that's a fallacious argument. What are you talking about? Or someone like me, who is the expert in the field. And then Mormons are weaponized. That I'm attacking Mormonism. That I'm defaming Joseph Smith in the Book of Mormon. And you don't understand how I'm able to confound you by quoting you back the Book of Mormon, or the words of Joseph Smith. I still have yet to hear from probably about 100 after all these years who thought they could shame me, who thought they could put me in my place, that I'm wrong about Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon. And that's just the Mormons. It's been an interesting ride with the ex-Mormons. My California brother, not really brother, but he's from California, and we both like the Dodgers. Dodger Dave. I haven't heard from him in a while. I did see that he's still doing videos, I guess, or it may have been one from years ago. So YouTube hasn't banned him, or he's back after probation. I remember he was making his comments, going on about how Joseph Smith was a polygamist, and I had to remind him, because he knows his stuff, he's done his research, but he's not able to put the pieces of the puzzle together. He knows lots of different sources of the accusations, the hearsay. And so people think, well, after the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, every word shall be established. No, evidence. Linguistic evidence in this particular case, for the most part. Some other forensic investigation is also required, such as paternity tests that all came up negative. But, when you got a woman who's claiming she was raped by Joseph and that her kid is not the husband's kid, it sort of stirs up people's emotions. But DNA in our day and age has confirmed that those kids were the actual fathers. But apparently that woman decided to ruin her marriage. Somebody got her to ruin her marriage to frame Joseph Smith after he died. Wonder who that would have been. But, yeah, so much stuff on that. But yeah, the actual Hebrew of Jesus is Joshua. So why aren't we the Church of Joshua Christ? That's the Hebrew. Why not? Why don't we say Yah of salvation and do a translation of the name? Why not? It's a weird thing that the white man will never name their kid Jesus. They'll name him Joshua, but never Jesus. I don't know of anyone who is white in my 53 years who is named Jesus. But you go south of the border, that's probably the #1 name for a male child. They want their boys to emulate Jesus from the Bible. It's a whole different perspective on the name. And so now Nelson is demanding that Mormons frequently repeat the name of the Christ, rather than hold it in reverence and respect. Because when you remove the name of Christ, you remove him from the center of your life and worship. Did I quote that right? I got it as a clip. I've shown it to you multiple times. I did a whole name blitz before this conference. Yep. And apparently the analytics are saying that I'm getting a lot of repeat viewers of those types of videos. I went over, there was only a half a dozen, but I think at least 5 of the 6 were all dealing with the name in some way. So yeah, it is getting out there. But Mormons are unhappy because the name and its meaning is what the Jews purposely put as the name of the character for the prophecy of the latter days. They too, out of respect and reverence for the name Emmanuel, chose not to repeat it. And so you'll have others, like the author of Samson in Judges, use Sun King. Yeah, if you Google search Sun King for the baby name meaning, they have Sun Child. Not a child. King. Remember? I deciphered Paleo-Hebrew. It's called the suffix determinative. The N for a human is king, for a land it is kingdom, because it is from the Egyptian hieroglyph of the crown of Pharaoh. There's the J stroke and then the V for the crown, with the snake and the vulture. And it's only got the 1 technically, but it's linear. So it's at least the northern kingdom. But if you don't learn the ancient cultures, the ancient languages, as I am an anthropologist of the ancient Middle East because of Joseph Smith, and all the questions that the church will not answer. And I demanded to know an answer, and so I had to find out myself. And when the professionals didn't have the answers for me, I had to do the research myself. Nobody tells me I can't know the answer. Because Moroni chapter 10 verses 3 through 5 says I can know anything if I follow the scientific process of agronomy. And you're going, what? That's not in Moroni. What are you talking about? Did you think to compare it with Alma chapter 32 starting in verse 28? Agronomy. That's a science. And you use scientific methodology to develop theories, run tests. And what do you know? That's what they're telling you to do in Alma. None of this spiritual witness crap. They even tell you it's crap. Do you know? Hell no, you don't know. Do you have the fruit? No, you don't have the fruit. You don't know. And so, yes, every Mormon either misinterprets or removes manifest. Because that's physical. That's the scientific method. And so I knew it as a kid that it had nothing to do with a spiritual witness or feeling. faith must produce the results in the flesh. The results is not a feeling. You are not done with your research when you get a feeling. So, section 107, yeah, the name that they will not tell you is Amen, because he tells you in other places. Joseph Smith Papers tells us, and that's how I knew that Amen in our Doctrine and Covenants is the wrong spelling. And then I find out that 116 not only uses that wrong spelling, that the original document from which it came from in the Joseph Smith Papers reveals that it's a forged document. Somebody had gone back into that period of time, 1838, and found some space to continue writing, but took too long to go back in history. But maybe they thought nobody in the church would see it, that they'd only see the printed copy in the Doctrine and Covenants when it came out, and nobody would question them. They would keep it hidden. And so, yes, the Joseph Smith visions were told the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in print, in our canon. And so, even though Joseph Smith does not say his name in the first vision, he gives the translation for his description, and yet we are all told to put in Jesus instead. And so, yeah, I didn't know. I didn't have Google search. I didn't have the money to pay for the big expensive books in the subject field. You think your textbooks were expensive? But to see in the Joseph Smith Papers from the original document, and to even be told by those who are working on the Joseph Smith Papers to footnote as a distraction away from the truth, Royal Skousen, they still reveal the truth that Willard Richards put it in. The one who murdered Joseph, shot him in the back, and then dumped his body out the window, and then came back over Hiram, who was lying on the floor, and shot him in the face, causing the blood stain on the floor. Yeah, how did I know this? Forensic investigation of a crime scene. President Spencer W. Kimball tried to cover it up, tried to clean it up, remove the plaque from the floor. Can't clean blood out of wood. But again, that's science. That's why the church doesn't like it. That's why the church says it's evil, and that your spiritual feelings are more truthful. They want you dumb. They want you compliant. And in that complicity, you become a weapon. As you go out and you lie, and you demand that others accept your lie, or you will use threats and violence and insults. Probably should have started with insults, worked my way up to violence. Because we've seen it in the news. Brian David Mitchell escalated to violence to let people know he is true. Chad and Lori escalated to violence to let people know that they're true. Nobody dares to molest or make afraid. And it's been that way ever since Brigham Young. He was the original Wild West. Wasn't Deadwood. Wasn't Yellowstone. But yeah, Yellowstone is teaching me about the fight over land. And I've already knew about it with the church, but there was more. I understand now the Native Indians that were murdered by Brigham Young and their fight and their loss. And then the United States comes in on top of that, and the United States was too much for the church. But this is the danger that I've been trying to warn you about. And I've often incorporated Albert Pike because he's a separate source that confirms what I confirmed through Brigham Young. And that's the plot to destroy you. You, specifically, who are hearing this video. The church is working with the worldwide enemy, as they're worldwide too, to destroy everything, to ruin your life and destroy it, and then take over as fascist and take away your agency because you can't be trusted with it. So they're going to tell you what you are going to do with your day. They are going to tell you what you are going to believe and how to think and how to feel. And if you don't like it, death penalty. You don't see it. They've been giving you the blatant clues all these generations. And the biggest one of all is getting the name wrong. And not just getting it wrong, but using as the replacement the one and only name that is great and abominable. There's a reason why, after World War II, those who were named Adolf or Hitler had their name changed. The German people were ashamed of what they had become. And only somewhat recently are you getting neo-Nazis trying to rise up and resurrect the name. See, in and of themselves, they're harmless. But it was the one bad apple that ruined it for everybody. And for Jesus, that bad apple was Roman Emperor Constantine. He ruined it for everyone. For 1,700 years, he has ruined it. Because Christianity replaced the Jews. Christianity hasn't come up with any of the scriptures. None of it is theirs. It's all Jewish scripture. And what thank they for the Jews? What thank they the Jews for the scriptures, the Bible? I did that quote in the Book of Mormon in the other video I did the other day. So guess what Brigham did? He did the same thing, using the same abomination to the Book of Mormon and to Joseph Smith's words. And apparently nobody can figure it out. But there's a reason why the church does not teach us about Roman Emperor Constantine. Would you think that would be awesome? Oh yeah, Christianity is wrong. It was created by a man. Jesus therefore isn't real. Well, yeah, but your name has Jesus. Oh, well, it's a different Jesus. It's the real Jesus. That's what Nelson pulled on you. Oh, we're not the Constantine Jesus. We don't believe in Trinity. Jesus is a separate personage of flesh and bone, as tangible as man's. He's the real Jesus of the Roman period. No, he's learning of the Jews. That's why he has a body of flesh and bones as tangible as man's, because he is a man. He's human. And he's being prophesied about, because he's not going to appear until America and our generation. He's here now. And you don't know it because the scriptures have been turned into a stumbling block. And you don't even know you're supposed to be looking for them. So, yeah. April 6th, 1830, Joseph Smith named the church the Church of Christ. Joseph Smith was our Christ, under the learning of the Jews. And yes, Christians, that's blasphemous to you, but he's not Christian. Apparently Christians don't want to accept this. They don't want to give religious freedom to other religions. And after all, they have a history of not giving religious freedom to others who they encounter. They even create religions that don't exist just so that they can torture people to confess Jesus as the Christ. And so the danger has to do with the church not getting held accountable. Mormons not leaving the church to seek freedom. Because if they have no followers, the con's over. But if they win, and they're able to take hostages, they will own the land. And it doesn't matter if you don't want to be a part of the church or not. They will take away your agency. And if you don't like it, you'll be dropped off at a point where laws don't go. No investigations are made. No searches are made. And you get shot and pushed off the cliff. It's a Yellowstone thing. The church had the death penalty in the beginning. The church will restore it with their kingdom. Just because they're trying to soften it up so that you can go to the temple and feel good about it. See, when they are in control, well, that's it. You have to feel good about it. If by chance you do not feel good, do not let it stay. Quickly change it upside down and feel good about it today. Yeah, we teach that to primary kids. And you know I'm giving you the wrong lyrics. You're supposed to mourn with those that mourn. Not supposed to tell them to smile and get over it. That you're wicked if you don't smile all the time under all conditions. You're being criminalized. Smile. You're being victimized. Smile. So, that's enough for now. But yeah, in 1834, the leaders of the quorums gathered. Sidney Rigdon called for a vote for the name of the church change. It was unanimous. So it's now the Church of Latter-day Saints. And so section 115, oh, that's right next to 116. I wonder when it was put in our Doctrine and Covenants. Oh, it's also said to be from 1838. Oh, a Danite is the author of that one. Yeah. That's not how you change the name of the church. Members had a say. But Heber J. Grant in 1923 fooled the Mormons to no longer giving them a voice. So all of you protesters, you can protest all you like. You're not going to change the church. They may change if it goes national. But they'll throw in polygamy and the law of chastity. They'll throw in grooming of child brides for the future in the millennial kingdom. That's what they did. The bishop, who wanted to protect LDS children from sexual deviances of the bishops, was excommunicated for it. And then the church put out bishops having to read the temple recommend questions like they do for adults. And so then the church then turned to start grooming the children in preparation for child bride marriages. That's why they lowered the age to 11 to go to the temple. That's why in 2022 the theme was trust in the Lord that whole year. Where did we get trust in the Lord from? Oaks, October 2019, after the law of chastity had been changed. And he wants to tell a story by reading a letter that he received that sums up the theme for his talk. About a woman who's concerned about will she have to stay in the same house with the first wife. And he says, trust in the Lord. And so trust in the Lord is code for polygamy. And it was the theme in 2022 for children in the church. So yeah, I can keep on going. everything about the church is wrong and evil. And it all comes down to the name. I just had a missionary flashback of a dream I had about the name. That is wild. Too bad my dad threw away my journals. Because it was written in there. So yeah, I only got glimpses of it, but I remember that's where it came from. Alright, well. Dream on, dream until your dreams come true. We'll put that in the theme song, or in the description below.